Aloha shining ones. So happy to be back on Insta TV with you. So this weekend Mercury goes retrograde in Pisces, and I've had some people asking me about what my opinion is about this and what they should do and how they should navigate. Someone had a new course that they just channeled through, and they were curious about, should they release it, should they wait? And so these are my thoughts on Mercury retrograde, specifically this one coming up. So I love Mercury retrograde. So in any retrograde, the energy of the planet in whatever it's about, whether, in this case, we have a lot of retrogrades this year. And in this case, we're talking about Mercury, right? Which is Mercury governs communication, transformation, intellectual conversation, exchange of energy, ideas, technology, transportation, communication, all these things. So when the planet goes retrograde, it appears to move backwards in the sky just because of its orbit around the sun. From our Earth-centric view, it appears to go backwards. It's not actually going backwards. But what that means on an energetic level is that when Mercury is going forwards, or any planet, this year we're going to have Venus retrograde, Mars retrograde, Saturn retrograde, Jupiter retrograde. We'll talk about all of those things, but just, preempting you. So whatever that planet represents and is all about, usually whenever it's moving forwards, the energy connected to that planet, Mercury, communication, technology, transportation, intellectual ideas, all those things, goes inward during a retrograde. It's not moving outward. So usually, except for the 3 times per year when Mercury is retrograde for about 3 weeks, the planet's moving forward. And so we're like outwardly communicating. We are using technology to communicate to each other. Someone asked me, why is technology so affected? Because we use it to communicate. And transportation, because we are moving ourselves forwards through time. And really, like, when we get down to it on kind of like a symbolic level, the energy of Mercury it's kind of like, I always say it's kind of like a merchant. It's like a merchant acquires something in one place, takes it to somewhere else, and then sells it or dispenses it. Or it's kind of like a translator, right? Does that same thing where they receive something, information and everything is information, right? Whether it's like the thing that the merchant acquired, the item, everything is information. So the acquiring of information, whether it is an item or actual information, knowledge, wisdom. And so a translator does that same thing where they receive something in Portuguese, and then they translate it into French. And so they're not changing what was the original information was. They're just taking it from one place and putting it in another place on a very like kind of symbolic fundamental level. That's what's happening. So Mercury, usually this is the information is like moving outwards. We're moving ourselves and our bodies and our minds outwards and with each other through time and space. When Mercury goes retrograde, that motion goes inside. And so our inner realms, our access to our higher selves, our access to our spirit guides, our dream worlds, our meditations, our intuition is trying to communicate much louder to us, because the direction of the energy in around these issues of Mercury is going inward into our deeper inner being. So it is especially with Mercury retrograde in Pisces, which rules the multidimensional sea of all that is, our dream worlds, our spiritual connections, our meditative space. in its illumination. That's the illuminated side of Pisces. This is a powerful, beautiful time for us to do dream work, and to do meditations and to do spiritual practices and everything, and to communicate with ourselves and our higher selves and our spirits. So that doesn't mean that you have to stop doing business and go meditate for 3 weeks. Not at all. If you have been hanging out with me long enough, you know that we always open the Lemurian School, of Remembering during Mercury retrograde. And we do that on purpose because when the planet of communication is moving inwards and backwards through time, it is much easier for us to turn inwards and for those portals and doors to our past lives and inner selves, and higher selves and all of our spirit allies and everything to open up. So if you're doing something that is related to spirituality, related to helping people to connect deeper into themselves, especially if it's something that you've done before. A lot of times it's like we have ideas about how to do things in new ways during Mercury retrograde because we've had that time to kind of like slow down and think and really feel into what would feel better and how we could do it differently. So absolutely, you can make forward progress, you can continue to help people, you can continue to make money, you can continue to do commerce in the world, and you will probably have better results if what you are doing is something you've done before retrograde, or it's something that is helping to facilitate that inner connection to our more spiritual selves, especially during Pisces Mercury retrograde. And so the reason that, technology fritzes out or communication, there's a mix up in communications, or we run late, or the train isn't on time, or whatever happens, is because there's so much like motive force that is pulling us inside, that all of those ways in which we like outwardly connect or outwardly move ourselves through space and time are going against the flow. And so it's like harder to have that communication and that connection to the outside world when there's so much energy wanting to and opening doors for you to communicate inside. So that's basically it. So yeah, you can absolutely totally still make forward progress and get things done during Mercury retrograde as long as you are yourself taking time to meditate, writing down your dreams, taking time to do your spiritual practices, to float in the ocean, to lay on the ground and gaze at the clouds if you can, to go to the movies, to float in a flotation tank, to space out in any way. And also just be aware the shadow phase of the shadow side of Pisces is addiction and is dissociation and disconnection, like spacing out to avoid something, or feeling like your spiritual connection is so intense that you can't get anything done and you just need to not feel everything and you just need to numb it out. And so then you drink or you do other things that like numb your senses. And so that just makes everything more complicated. So to really utilize and resource this energy, it is a beautiful opportunity for us to connect to our higher selves, to open our spiritual connections, and anything that we feel like could help other people navigate those things, to have better boundaries with their spiritual connection. That's like, part of being so empathetic is being able to also have really good boundaries about when and how you're available for those connections. Shout out to my Reclaim Your Light bundle for my energetic hygiene courses, there if you need them. So yeah, just having that time and that space to connect is the best thing that you can do, and to weave that into whatever it is that you're doing. So I hope this is helpful. Please leave any questions that you have for me about any of this below this Insta TV. And I'm looking forward to connecting more with you, and I love you so much.